Good day. In this demo, we will be looking at how to bring in the ChatGPT experience within a Power Apps. For this demo, we'll be using the OpenAI ChatGPT connector. We'll use the Canvas apps, and we will create a custom connector and include that as a data source. Before that, let's take a look at ChatGPT. I'm sure most of you would have tried ChatGPT um, in a browser experience. The goal here is to provide a similar experience in Power Apps. While the user works with Teams and Outlook and Power Apps on their daily business use cases and their daily productivity tools, we want to make sure that it's an option for the user to use ChatGPT within the Power App so that they need to connect into a ChatGPT in a web browser. Of course, I wouldn't be demoing a lot on the purpose of ChatGPT, but we can take a quick look about sample examples. For example, you wanted to know about Power Platform licenses. You can ask ChatGPT, and it's going to give you the necessary details based on the query that you input in ChatGPT. Now, we wanted to bring this experience in Power Apps, and that's the purpose of this demo. So for that, what we do need is OpenAI API key and connector. You need to log into openai.com, and here you would have a lot of documentations for you to take a look at. In this case, we will look at chat completion um, functionality. So you would need to grab this API endpoint, as well as there are samples here in terms of how to input the models and the response that you would like to receive in your OpenAI demo. In a custom connector, we would use these API endpoints. We would also use these models and sample messages and build that custom connector in Power Apps, and then input that custom connector into the Power Apps and start to work with the Power Apps mode. This is the Power Apps that I built, but before that, we would want to take a look at the, the custom connector that was built and how that API from openapi.com has been included. So you come here and click on custom connectors. I do have one of the connectors that I just recently built. I'll show you how to input those fields and which are the key fields to input. ChatGPT 2024 is the one that I'm using for this demo. You would create a custom connector, give it a name, and then call this HTTPS host details from OpenAI. And then for security, you would include API keys. And I'll show you where to get this API key in a bit. And then you need to create those definition, give it a name, and you could import from a sample. This is where you would use the post method and give the completion uh, API endpoint here and give a sample body and header, and then you're good to go and just test that connector once it is done. Do a preview and give some test URL and test it, and you're done. Now coming back to OpenAPI, so this is where you would get those endpoints, like I said before, and sample model name and text. You could use the latest model name if you have access to the API. Where do you get the API keys? You would come here in under the left-hand toolbar and click on API key, and there are a few API keys in here, and you create this API key. Now, the performance of this particular API depends upon your paid subscription and the number of tokens that you have and how much do you consume. Right. Now, going back to the Power Apps, this is the Power Apps that I built, and let's see how it works in the context of ChatGPT integrated scenario. I'll ask the same question here. So we got similar responses that we tried that in the UI, which is the web browser using the ChatGPT website, but we are trying to get that similar experience in Power Apps. I'm not going to query more. You understand the concept here, but I want to show you how this was built real quick. And it's a very simple way to build it. I'm on the edit mode right now. As you can see, I just have one screen where I do have these images and labels. It's a gallery in here. And within the gallery, you are calling the ChatGPT connector in a collection, and that's all it to it. So you need to input those connections um, that is reflected here, which you can see here, which I showed you in the past. You create a custom connector and add that as a data source, and then treat that in a collection variable, and then bring that into a gallery, and you would get those responses. You just need two labels, one for the input and one for the text output, and the system would automatically bring in those details as you keep typing and asking for question. So in short, it's pretty useful if you don't want to work in a different browser and check with ChatGPT about the Q&A that you have. You could pretty much build this in Canvas apps and then include this Canvas apps into your team as a team Power App, so that you're in one place, which can enhance your productivity. Thank you for watching in.